Now following on from the MC1, we come to the MC2. Now at the moment, as you can see, I've just panned out, and you can see there's a lot more of the MC1 points there. Let's change the colour on this to make it a bit easier to see on your eyes. Okay. Right, so these are all the points I've marked, so as you can see the overall market is up, and each of these highs are getting higher, except places like here, as you can see, and there's pullbacks here and there's pullbacks here. Now all of these we know have to be a bigger cycle, because as I've already explained to you, when a market goes down below a previous MC1 point, not an inversion point but below an actual MC1 point, then we know the bigger picture is in. Now if I remove the cycle altogether, I'm going to put a template on of the MC2. Right, there's the MC2 template, and again on this one it's a bigger cycle, and obviously from this red line to this red line here is 354 and a bit days, which is obviously a lunar year as explained before. And again it has 12 matrix points, not 11 that's on the MC1, but it has 12. So between this red line and this red line here there are 12 matrix points. As already explained on the MC2 cycle, it can invert, so either side of point 1 it can have an inversion point, so you could have a 12 inversion or a 1 inversion. Now commonly, if an MC2 point is due in the area of the end of the MC1 cycle, so like where an inversion point could occur, the point will tend to occur with that inversion point. So if an MC2 point is due here, it will tend to occur with an inversion point. Same up here. Now, because this is an index, and we know that point 1 tends to be around the red line, let's start by marking in what we can assume is the points. Again, you can obviously from here these are already predefined, so we could hit cycle and find out where they are automatically, but let's just do it manually first to get an idea. So I'll start about here. Let's just put in number 1. Move that down. So point 1 is after red line. Point 2. Now why have I selected there? Well, first of all, this point has gone lower than this, so what it tells me is from here on the way up this 7 has now gone fractionally lower than 6, so that has to be a matrix point. So move that across a bit. So this probably is point 12 at the end of the other series, so if I just put point 12 in, put that down there. Okay, so point 12, point 1, point 2. Doesn't look as though there's any inversion, but it could be. It could have had a 12 inversion, and point 1 could have come early, and there could have been a 1 inversion. We don't know at this particular point. So, next one is point 3. Well, I suspect point 3 will be here, and for a number of reasons, other than it being the inversion point. But there's some rules here. So let's put the point 3 in here for a minute. Right, one of the rules is, because we're using the MC2 and the MC1 here, you cannot have more than 3 highs in a row unless one is an inversion point. And what this means is, from this red, this is MC2.2, so between 2 and 3, these reds, you cannot have more than 3 highs on the lower time frame. So what I'm saying here is point 2, as we go up to point 3, we have one MC1 high, now that's the second high in a row, and this is the third MC1 high in a row. Now, because this is an inversion point, you can have a fourth. So if any of these points here is an inversion point, you can have 4 highs in a row. But basically the general is 3 highs in a row unless one of these particular points is an inversion point. So basically you can never have more than 3 highs in a row before a bigger cycle point should arrive. Now if that's point 3, if we put in point 4, put that to there. From here, as we go up, we have 1 high, 2 high. Now that isn't as high, so it's already turned, in which case that has to be 0.5. So that has to be an MC2 point, 0.5. Move it down a bit. And then as you can see, this has now gone higher than this again, so that has to be the next point, so it has to be 0.6. So we put 0.6 in, move that underneath, and then from here you can see there's 1 high, 2 high, 3 highs again before a turn, so that has to be 0.7. I'll put 7 in. And as you can see, the market's dropped again, so that has to be 0.8, so we'll put 0.8 in. Now, from here, as you can see, there's 1 high, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So in which case, there's a load of highs in a row. There has to have been another MC2 point in between. There has to be. So it's impossible. Now that high is not as high as that. So that has to be an MC2 point. So we know that is. If that's 8, there's got to be a 9, 10 in between. So that must be number 11. So if we put number 11 in to start with, move that on top there. And that has gone lower than that. That's not as high as that, so that has to be 12. So if we put point 12 in as well. Now we can come back and find where points 9 and 10 are. So I'll put those on. 9 and 10. Now, whereabouts are they? What you can do, as I said, is you need to look at multiple cycles. So this is just one cycle from this red line to this red line. We need to look back in the past, and you will find 0.9 and 10 tend to be around the purple line, this one here. So I suspect it cannot be more than the 3 highs in a row, because none of these points here are inversion points, as you can see. So that's 1 high, that's 2 high. Chances are it's going to be that one. So I'll move it to there. And just so you know, on the way up, we don't have to have 3 highs in a row. We can have 1 high before a turn. You can have 2 highs before a turn, but the maximum you can have is 3 of these in a row, unless one of these is an inversion point, in which case you can have 4. And there's that magical 4 number again. So that's got to be the 10. So now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And 11 and 12 here. Now this has gone higher. We'd expect from 12 to go up to 0.1. Now look where 0.1 is here, and we've got 12 down the bottom here. Now 12's before the red line, 1's after. So it looks like this cycle is inverted, because that looks like 0.1. And as I said to you, we tend to have the biggest moves occur either side of 0.1. So if we put on 0.1 as being here, yeah, that's in exactly the same place that it's here. But that means that must be a 12 inversion. There has to have been an inversion point. So put in the inversion point. Move that on the top. So now you've got a clean set. Now from here, 0.1 we go up to 0.2, and 0.2 can be roughly halfway between, between a third and a halfway between. So we'd expect around about here, this should be about the 2, and that might be the 3. But if that's the red 3, look where the 3 is due normally, quite a way away. So the chances are there could have been an inversion here as well. So not only is 12 inverted, but 1 looks like it might have been inverted. But again, you need to look at in the past of where 0.2 normally occurs. So let's put in 0.2 and place that there. And then we'll put in a inversion point for 0.1. Oops. And on top there. Right, so now we have 1, 2, now going up for 3, and of course the 3 is due roughly around about that blue line. So let's have a look into the future. Forward a bit, and there's the line, in which case the 3 has to have occurred there. So place the 3 in. There she is. Now if you look at this carefully, consider the situation. We've explained to you that with the MC2, if an MC2 cycle is up, each of the highs on the MC1 will go higher, and each of the lows will also be higher. You cannot have more than 3 MC1 highs in a row unless there is an inversion point, in which case you can have 4. But after 3 it has to turn, because the MC2 must come in. Again here, from this point 4 to 5, there is actually just 1 high, 2, so it's just 2 highs. And between this 5 and 6 there's, look, 1 low, 2 lows. And then again 1, 2, 3 highs and a drop. But because that inversion point's there, it could have actually had a 0.1 here and gone up for a 0.2 and made a red 7 come with a 0.2. From here upwards we had just high, high, highs and high. consistently, in which case you can't have more than 3. So 1, 2, 3, it has to be 0.9 and 10 there, because none of these points are inversion points. So subsequently 3 highs in a row, it has to be there. Now if you look carefully at what we've got, if you think about it, the same rules apply to the MC2 as they do to the MC1, in which case from back here we've got the red 12. We've gone red 1 high, red 3 high, red 5, red 7. You've then gone down to 8. 8 has gone lower than 6, in which case this must be a bigger cycle high. It has to be, otherwise that could not have gone lower. Now the next one up from here is the MC3 cycle, so this has to be an MC3 point. Now as I said to you before with the MC1, the rules apply to all of the time frames, in which case if the bigger cycle is down, this should go lower than a previous of a lower cycle. So if MC3 is down, the MC2 will go lower than a previous MC2 point. So this is the whole idea. As you're coming up in the market, you know that this point is due for a turn, and you know that on the bigger picture is down, in which case this should go lower here. So this is the point where you obviously short the market, and down she comes, because you get a bigger move. It's taken what, a month and a half, 3 or 4 months to get up to here, and for the sake of just a few days it's wiped off that entire distance. So that's where the biggest profit is. Multiple time frames in the same direction. Again here, this is also where a bigger MC3 is due, which has come with this 8. And then of course there'll be a much bigger up move, because not only is the MC3 due, this red MC2 is due, and the MC1, in which case it's a big push. And again from here, 1 high, 2 high, 3 high, drop. Again with the MC2 you cannot have more than 3 highs in a row unless one of them is an inversion point. And again the bigger MC3 cycle, if it's due in an area where the MC2 is actually due for an inversion, the chances are it will come with the inversion point. Once again, just like the MC1 cycle, we can with the matrix add-on for ShareScope, we can click here, get rid of the templates, and we can actually put the cycle itself on, and so it does it all for you. As you can see here, there's 12 was due here, and that's where it came. 0.1 was due in this area, it's come. 0.2 was due in this area, and you can see it's here. Now this is obviously showing you the area, because unlike MC1, which is a much more time frame, it's just got plus or minus a couple of days, the MC2 is a couple of weeks either side. So it's due here on average, but because, as I said before, the bigger cycle must have been up, because the market's going up, in which case this point will tend to be on time, which is due here, or early. Highs will tend to be on time, you can see that's on time, or late. Again, this 4 is due here, it's come early. It's the same situation, and the last point with a bigger cycle will tend to be on time. So that 0.7 is bang on time. Then it drops down to this 0.8, as you can see, 9, and of course the area of 10, up to 11. Now 11's come slightly early, because of course the bigger picture now is turning down to this 12. Now here you can see the 0.12 has come very, very early, and because it's come early, it's allowing space for it to invert, in which case it needs to come down to 0.1. But at the moment 0.1 was showing a high, so if we click on that and move it to a low, there it is. Then it's come up to a 1 inversion and to the range of where 0.2 is. That's come slightly early, in which case the bigger picture must now be up, so it's going to go back up again. It's quite simple, clear logic, but as I say, these are already pre-programmed in for the S&P and a number of other markets, so you can see them in advance. Right, what we need now to do is go on to the next cycle, MC3.